supporting Moscow, it's supporting Putin regime, who is really directly responsible for atrocities and the escalation of military standoff in Ukraine.
Now, today in Toronto, an event to promote Russian investment and business was held, and the Ukrainian community decided to tell the participants exactly what they thought. Our Faith Goldie went along to get and give the truth, and she joins us now. I mean, you're a wonderful journalist. You report on the situation, but you're also someone who cares about truth and justice and of Ukrainian descent. And we can't stand back from these events. We have to participate as well.
Certainly. In case folks at home were curious, the Moscow that we're talking about, that these senior politicians were here to encourage investment in, it's the same Moscow that is housing the Kremlin right now. You know, the one that has just performed an illegal annexation of Crimea, the same one that our own Prime Minister has put over 100 sanctions on, and has actually asked for the diplomatic isolation thereof. And yet in downtown Crimea, these are some of the offenses, by the way, folks, according to myself and many of the Ukrainian protesters on the ground there. And even still, Michael, in light of all of these crimes, truly crimes, which I do believe Putin one day will find himself in the International Criminal Court having to speak to his actions here. Even still, downtown Toronto, the Ritz-Carlton, houses this event where it's a great merging together of high-ranking Moscow government officials, as well as a whole lot of Canadians, some of them in governmental positions, Michael, from Vancouver, Ottawa, Toronto, and the rest. I think we might have actually a few boards there of folks who are included on it. I mean, we're talking, okay, sure, Barrett Gould, Norton Rose, some of the guys that you might expect to see, but also embassy guys, international affairs guys, Carleton University, guess where a lot of your journalists come from, Canada, McGill University, Bombardier. I mean, it was really, really, the list goes on, by the way, Michael. I've got about 5 pages here before me. Someone's not getting the message, but the Ukrainians that were there actually did. I want to show you one clip from one gentleman named Roman. He says, there is absolutely no way that we can return to business as usual. Take a look.
It's time to teach the world that we can't be doing business with Russia. They shot down a Ukrainian plane. They didn't do it with bows and arrows. They did it with money that they get from trade, the world economy. Now, nobody wants a war. We want peace. But we're not going to get peace if we do business as normal.
So, Michael, this is the issue. This is the disconnect that's happening right now, because in one breath, our government is saying this guy is a criminal. He has performed illegal actions on the international stage. And yet our business folks, some even that have governmental associations, are carrying on as though Putin is a G8 leader. We've all nixed him off from that party table. And our dollars aren't essentially blood money that's helping to facilitate the roll-in of tanks and high-powered machinery, including guns and grenade launchers and the rest of that, help to just bring down this military airplane carrying 49 Ukrainians.
I believe in a mixed economy. I believe capitalism is the most just way of forming and maintaining an economy, but there has to be certain controls. When South Africa operated a vile racist regime known as apartheid, we applied sanctions. Other countries, we've applied sanctions. Iran, we've applied sanctions. I want Russia to be free and prosperous, but their actions in Ukraine are illegal. We have to say no. The people from universities, the people from the academy are there. That is fundamentally and profoundly wrong.
I find it difficult to believe that they haven't read the NATO reports that say that there are tanks near and inside Ukraine that are from Russia. I don't believe that they haven't read the State Department reports, these academics that you speak of, that say that Russia did just that, send tanks and weapons. And I want to show you one more clip of one, because I agree with you, Michael. I'm of the same mind. It's a free market. I believe in capitalism. But what these people are doing is propping up the oligarchs that have blood on their hands. Let's take a look at that clip.
It's never a good reason to conduct any war, but there is no reason whatsoever for this war. You know, so I think if we can stop it by peaceful means, you know, if businesses do not support businesses in Russia, and Russian businessmen who support Putin, because this is how this oligarchic regime is built, you know, you pay money to Putin, you maintain his power. So I think Canadian businesses have to align themselves with the Canadian government, and I think that Canadian government is taking the right stance in this issue, not only because of the pressure from the Ukraine, Ukrainian community, but because it's a humanitarian issue.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, there are over 230 people, by my count. That is the stuff that is being shown to you in your usual, run-of-the-mill newspapers. Over 200 Ukrainians now dead. That's more than what we lost in Afghanistan, our own soldiers. And yet, we're quick to say, let's go into places like Iraq, where we just withdrew, and the rest of it. And we're becoming distracted by the fact that a once G8 nation that now sits in the United Nations Security Council, who is currently butting up with China, old communist alliances there, is performing an illegal annexation of, yes, Crimea, which we're just treating as though it's just the way things are now, all along the eastern border. And, in Crimea, there's no more Ukrainian church, Michael. They have already kidnapped, and they've installed their own Russian henchmen, and there are people who are sitting in the back of the pews, Michael, taking notes as to what the homilies and sermons are that are being said. This is old Soviet
exactly
tactics.
The same as the Moscow of the Soviet Union. Things haven't changed very much. Cosmetically, they've changed. But whether it was the Tsar and his Black Hundreds and his secret police, or whether it was Lenin and Stalin and Khrushchev and Brezhnev with their NKVD and KGB and the rest of them, and Putin now, it's the same urge to control those around them. I wish, I'm not a fool, but I wish the left, the labor movement, feminists and the rest would come together and say we have to oppose this oppressive regime. But that's not going to happen. It's not the Ukrainians are on their own, but you won't get much support. What can other people do, non-Ukrainian people? What can we do to help you?
That's a very good question. Right now, the most peaceful way is to encourage more sanctions, so don't allow this sort of money to be going to the Moscow oligarchs who only help to fund Putin. But I have called for a very long time for a coalition of the willing to have boots on the ground, because Putin, he's hard power, and he will only respond to hard power.
I think churches, certainly the Catholic Church, because it's suffering terribly, and other ethnic organizations, this could be an opportunity to build new alliances. And it's not, I don't call the Russians Nazis. I don't even want to use the term, it doesn't apply here. But the Russians are acting in a way that seems to be quite well inherent within the Russian character, I'm sorry, in the past 200 or 300 years. And we have to say, in the new civilized, free, democratic world with accountability, you cannot do that.
And the reason why their mentality is, as you put it, is because, well, the Kremlin owns all of the media. The folks there are brainwashed, Michael. They think that Poroshenko is some sort of a fascist. He might be an oligarch, but he's not a neo-Nazi. And that's what a lot of my friends in Moscow are telling their family, relatives. Don't talk to me because you're part of the fascist regime.
Oh, ironic and vile. Thank goodness you're on this.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.